Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And this morning, the CFO of Verizon, Matt Ellis, he presented at the JP Morgan conference. Yesterday, AT&T and T-Mobile went. And then this morning, Verizon got their turn. And I just finished the entire conference. I listened to it 2 times. And it's really starting to sound like to me that Verizon has taken a completely different approach versus what Verizon had done in previous years. And it's likely due to them being very confident in what they have in terms of their product and their network. So they're not gonna ease up. They're not gonna take it lightly. There is a basis percentage of them being more premium, and they feel like the customer should pay for that. They're saying their network is that basis percentage better, and that's where you see the uptick in cost. And they feel that that is properly justified by the size and how good their network is today. So we have a great article here from the telco competitor. I will leave it in the description down below. CFO, faster Verizon fixed wireless speeds may soon come thanks to C-band. So C-band is continuously scaling. He said during the conference, new sites are getting C-band somewhere in the United States daily. Daily new C-band equipment is going on towers. So they're scaling within the top 46 markets. Now they have access to an additional 30 markets, which he touched on again during the conference, that an additional 30 markets clear for them in the fourth quarter. So as each of these towers get C-band, the 60 megahertz, and then in the additional 30 markets, it'll be 100 megahertz. C-band is going to push the speeds and make fixed wireless access a much better product, right? It's capped right now. It's 300 down, 20 up. That's the speed you'll see on the C-band, or no faster than 300, I should say. I've seen some fluctuation from some people on the testing during more peak hours. It doesn't quite hit the 300, but after hours, when they can get faster on their mobile connection, it does cap out on the fixed wireless connection at 300 megabits a second. So he's saying that's just gonna happen by default as they add C-band onto the sites where previously you may have used fixed wireless access on LTE. The speeds are just gonna increase. But here's where I think they're taking a different approach and they're moving away from the competitors. So AT&T and T-Mobile the last few quarters have been focused on growing share, being a big share taker. And Verizon has noticed that in their business model. Just look at the first quarter, right? The consumer channels were slower. They took a loss. And he confirmed today that in this current quarter, consumer channels are still low. And he says it's due to competitive pressure. But he says it's nothing that they haven't seen before. And then there's some inflationary decisions in there as well. So he says they're not concerned. But my thing is, at what point do they become concerned? And if it's too late, then what do they do as a response? So he was saying they're fine now as it is. Their channels are good on retention. The SMB market is above 40% market share, which is another segment that the other competitors want to play in, because he says it's a good business. These businesses are reliable. They pay every month, and they're good large enterprise businesses to have. So he says, of course, everybody wants to play in the SMB market, in the large enterprise. And he says that's where we want to play too. So now Verizon is looking to take from the global share, right? Our economy, like I've said before, Verizon is very saturated in the urban core, so there's not a lot to pull from. And there's not a lot of upside anymore for Verizon either, because they've they've grown to be the leader in share in most of these segments. So now, according to Matt Ellis, they're looking at taking some money from the global market, right? They got some business going on the British ports. They got some of that going on that they're pulling money from there. And then who knows what else they dibble and dabble into over the next few months. I'm sure we'll get updates on that from Verizon, but they're looking to take, from the global market now, the billions in the global market. They already got most of the money here. Yeah, give or take, they'll grow some more share, but now they're looking to take from the global market, and that's where I think they are, moving in a different direction now versus their competitors. Now, T-Mobile is continuing to take share. T-Mobile is moving to 260 million pops covered with N41. So that allows them to compete now in the rural environment for what I feel is a much higher success rate on fixed wireless access. So T-Mobile can now go into these markets that only have one option. They now become the second option, and they get there before Verizon. So now they can soak up that opportunity, and Verizon's going to come in last, and Verizon likely will have to pay a little more to get that customer on board if they so choose to compete for that customer. But keep in mind, Verizon is going to charge that premium that they charge because they feel that their network is, like I said, that basis percentage higher in premium. It's a better network. And they feel they have every right to justify that by having a higher cost. So it's going to get interesting. Verizon says they can get to 175 million end of year. That's what's known publicly. And that they won't get to 250 million covered by the end of 2024. That's what they've stated publicly. So there's likely some room there for growth. Like they guide at 175, they can likely get to 200 million now with the 30 additional markets cleared. We don't know for sure if that happens. That could potentially happen, but they have access to 225 million pops with all the markets cleared. But that's going to be tough to get to all of those markets by the end of the year, or at least scale all of those markets to get to that 225 million. So then people have asked me, well, what do you think they're going to do in 2023? Are they just going to sit still? No, but they don't have, as it stands publicly, they don't have access to the other markets until the end of 2023. So yeah, they could go scale in some of the other parts ahead of time. But that rural environment, as T-Mobile is telling us, that takes a lot longer to scale. So Verizon in 2023 is likely still going to be busy scaling all the sites in the top 46 markets and then the other 30 markets, which they likely won't get done this year. Not all of them, not all the sites. So in 23, they're likely still going to be busy scaling some sites in Tucson and some of those other markets that clear before they can start branching out into that rural environment. So I think the fact that they're guiding 250, I think they don't get started on that rural deployment until 2024. Early 2024. And it's going to take them, just about all of 2024 to get from that 210. They'll probably get to 210, 220 by the end of 23. And then they're probably going to take all of 2024 to scale into those rural markets. Now, that's what's known publicly. That could change. They could give an updated guidance and say, look, we're going to do 270 by the end of 2024. But for now, what we know publicly is they're going to do 250. So it's very interesting how this is going to pan out, but Verizon seems to have gone in a different direction. It looks like Verizon doesn't really want any parts of that competition in terms of lowering price. It doesn't seem like they want to go that route. So I guess they're kind of okay with T-Mobile and AT&T taking that share. They have, like they said, they have TracFone to work into the value segment. So if you want to, move from the higher end postpaid with them to something cheaper, lower, they're going to plug in TracFone. They've said that plenty of times now. So they're definitely moving at a very good pace because the spending is there. But I think there's a bit of a disconnect now. He did say that the retention is there, so not a lot are moving, or not too many are moving. So he said if they saw a huge disconnect and people just leaving, then they know that their pricing is out of touch. But the recent fee increases, apparently they just really moved up to what the market does. So AT&T and T-Mobile already had those types of fees at that similar pricing. So all Verizon did was really match its competitors on those fees. So, like I said, everybody has a different approach. For T-Mobile is going to continue taking share. They have set that much. They have established that their pricing is lower. They got deals. They got 20% off. Right now, they're doing 5 lines, 4,000 off if you choose Magenta Max. So that's just something that Verizon's going to have to deal with. But it looks like they're okay with with where they're positioned right now. They don't mind losing in the consumer segment. They don't mind the slower growth. They're just going to keep moving. They're going to grow fixed wireless access. They're going to grow the SMB on the fixed wireless access, and they'll see where that goes from here on out. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow my social media outlets for more updates and interactions. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See you in the next one. Peace.